now call on George Adam to be followed by Mark Griffin. Up to 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And can I say that I welcome this debate during the build-up for Apprenticeship Week next week. Over the years, I've met with many of the training organisations in my constituency and many of the young people who are training towards their future career. And vocational training is very important to me because, like Ian Gray, my own father, had he not become an apprentice at 15 with Balfour Kilpatrick and Paisley, then his life, and in turn my life, may have taken a completely different turn. He was a young man from Fergusley Park, and he faced the many challenges that community faces still to this very day. He failed his 11+ exam and was put on the academic scrap heap until he walked into the old Barrow office in Paisley and they told him to go and talk to this company. He later ran his own business in this field and employed many of his friends from his own community. The shorthand version of this very long story, Presiding Officer, is that this was a defining moment in his working life. This is not unusual, as Ian Gray has already told us, that no doubt there's many similar stories like this about how important vocational training and apprenticeships can be. And I think we'll skip the part of the story, Presiding Officer, when he tried to pass these engineering skills on to his son, because that doesn't have quite as happy an ending. But as I'm aware, this is how important this can make and the opportunities that it offers young people in Scotland. And that's the reason why I back the Scottish Government's vision to develop a world-class vocational education system that matches our world-class higher education system. There are many challenges, though. The interim report from the Commission for Developing Scotland's young workforce states we must move on from our ingrained and frankly ill-informed culture that somehow vocational education is an inferior option. Presiding Officer, this is an issue that keeps coming up during the evidence that we are receiving at the Education Committee at the moment with regards to our inquiry into educational attainment. There appears to be an uneven playing field with regards to academic achievement and vocational achievement. Many schools are focused purely on the academic and are not showing the leadership necessary to offer other careers for our young people. When I asked some of the business representatives about the inequalities in attainment and in the workplace during one of the committee meetings, Phil Ford from the Construction Industry Training Board Scotland said, "Some schools measure success by the number of pupils who go to university. We need to challenge that and promote vocational careers as being equally valid." He was also mentioned by Terry Lanigan of the Association of Directors of Education in Scotland. I believe that vocational education is as important to academic young people as it is to others. The skills that are developed through work-based learning are important to everyone in society. One of the challenges is to persuade Scottish society, and particularly but not exclusively parents, to recognise the value of different routes to lifetime achievement. And that is the challenges that we're currently dealing with at this very moment, because we have many parents who actually see the academic route as the only way forward for said young child. I've heard constituents come to me who their son has wanted to go down a practical engineering course, and he's been actually, because he's quite bright and academic, he's been encouraged to go down that route. So we need to find the balance that will make that better as well. And as the Chairman states in the foreword of Developing Scotland's Workforce Final Report, we also have a challenge in the fact that only 30% of Scottish businesses have any kind of contact with educational establishments. And obviously the Scottish Government has agreed that they will take on board many of the things said in this report, but that is still an issue, because we still have a situation where many schools and educational establishments won't let third sector organisations or won't allow partner organisations of said authority in to actually help and work with attainment, or in this case talking about vocational education as well. And I think this is one of the things that when we visited the Wester Hailes what's the Wester Hillsfield Education Centre, they actually told us that their connection with local colleges and how they worked in the whole area to make sure that they had this idea where young people could actually go down a vocational side in secondary school. And that was quite impressive for me, because I think that is the way we will have to go forward. But the modern apprenticeship scheme also has problems as well that comes across in the evidence that we're receiving with small businesses, because many small businesses believe that they need to see a value in the training. They need to see that that young person isn't just getting taken away from their workplace and that they're getting something back from that as well. And although that may be a perception that they have, there is something that we need to address, because we need to have more small businesses involved in the Modern Apprenticeship Programme and all forms of training as well, because we have so many businesses that this could make a difference. So it needs to be relevant to these companies and these businesses as well. You know, last year when I was involved in the Apprenticeship Week, I went along to Muir Slicer in Paisley, and they basically are a company who have over 300 modern apprenticeships across a range of sectors and boast an achievement rate of over 90%. And while I was there, I met a young woman called Chelsea McGregor, who was an example of a young woman who was actually would not have, if it hadn't been for the Modern Apprenticeship Scheme, may have dropped out, wouldn't have had a job either. And she told me how much it made a difference to her life and how they'd been able to move things on. So I think, in closing, Presiding Officer, we have to take on board what a lot of these companies are saying, but also make sure that a lot of it is perception and not reality in the situation. But we need to work with them to ensure that everyone can get this opportunity that vocational training and apprenticeships offer. And as I say, like Keane Gray, if it had not been for my father walking into that Bureau office, I may not be here today.
Many thanks.